Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from That Park Place, and it is titled 5 Canceled Celebrities Who Never Got the Jimmy Kimmel Comeback Treatment from Hollywood Elites from October 7th, and you're hearing it all this way in the future now because I am on vacation, and I figure while I'm out, I'm not going to be able to pay that close of attention to the news, so I am just going to do some random stuff that's timeless while I'm out on vacation for the next week or so. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. So as you probably remember at the time you listen to this, I'm sure it won't take much to remember this, but Jimmy Kimmel was quote-unquote canceled, which was basically he was taken off the air for like a couple days because he made a bunch of insensitive comments about Charlie Kirk and then decided he was going to make it worse. And then he decided also then to blame President Trump for something that President Trump had absolutely nothing to do with. You know, his cancellation, I should say, in quotes, cancellation. So let's get into this. It says, freedom of speech is supposed to be universal, especially in entertainment, where pushing boundaries and exploring ideas used to be the very purpose of art. But in Hollywood, any number of canceled celebrities will tell you that free expression is conditional. When Jimmy Kimmel was suspended in 2020 after spreading false information about the killer of Charlie Kirk, why did it say 2020? This was like, from the time that you're going to hear this was like 2 months ago. So I don't know why it says that. So the fallout should have been career-ending. It says, he used his platform on national television to repeat misinformation during a moment of national grief. But instead of condemnation, Hollywood closed ranks. Media outlets rushed to excuse him, celebrities defend him, and ABC quietly reinstated him just days later. And when he returned, he did so as if nothing happened, with applause, forgiveness, and full network backing. And I do want to mention here that I've never been a fan of Jimmy Kimmel. I think I've said that before. I've always thought he came across as a smug prick. The only funny stuff that he's ever done in his late night career is if you look at the stuff he did with Matt Damon, like years ago, that stuff's actually funny. But besides that, I've never liked the guy. Even going back to The Man Show, which I watched very occasionally. I always thought Adam Carolla was the funny guy and Jimmy Kimmel was just kind of there and just, again, an ass. So just to put my bona fides out there. Back to the article. It says, yet Kimmel never actually said anything courageous or controversial that should be defended by anyone. He spread misinformation and mockery during a real national tragedy, then hid behind the banner of satire. And still, the gatekeepers called it protected speech. It says, and make no mistake about it, Kimmel had every right to say what he said, whether it was true or not. And that's absolutely 100% true. It says freedom of speech guarantees this. That's why in the United States you can't be jailed for a tweet or a late-night monologue. However, he is not immune from consequences, and ABC had every right to take him off the air. It says, for other entertainers, the same freedom of expression was nowhere to be found, and you're seeing where this list starts right underneath there. It says they were erased overnight, not for breaking laws or committing crimes, but for telling jokes, expressing opinions, or being on the wrong side of the cultural aisle. Some were even cleared of heinous allegations and charges by a court of law, yet still fell before the might of the court of public opinion. Here are 5 celebrities Hollywood happily canceled and never brought back, while Jimmy Kimmel was forgiven and paraded out like a free speech hero. And number 1, as you can see here, is Roseanne Barr, who says, when ABC revived Roseanne in 2018, it was a smash hit, a rare cultural unifier in a divided country. Over 18 million people tuned in, and that's huge, especially with today's TV numbers, proving that audiences still wanted family comedies that felt real and politically balanced. But one ill-conceived tweet later, that all vanished. After Roseanne Barr made a remark about former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett, a joke instantly branded racist, ABC canceled her show within hours. ICM partners dropped her, and media outlets cheered her downfall. What made it worse was Jimmy Kimmel's reaction. The same man who would go on to be suspended for misinformation went on his show and said he was glad ABC did the right thing by canceling Roseanne, adding that Barr had effectively killed her own show. In short, he agreed that she brought it on herself, a sentiment he didn't share when the outrage later turned toward him. So yeah, in every one of these examples with leftists, you can find them just being total hypocrites. It's okay when it happens to them. It's bad when it happens to other people. Okay, and the tweet that, I don't think it's going to say anything about what her tweet actually was. Well, let's keep going here. If it doesn't, I'll let you know. It says, Barr, for her part, later made a shocking claim that the call to remove her didn't come from within ABC, but from above. In her 2023 Fox Nation special, Cancel This, with an exclamation point, she alleged that President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama personally phoned Disney CEO Bob Iger to demand her firing. And for all the people out there screaming about authoritarianism and fascism, yet here's another example of Democrats doing that, and Trump is not doing anything of the sort. It says Iger never confirmed it, but Barr stands by her account. ABC relaunched The Conners without her, killed her character off-screen with an opioid overdose, and moved on as though she'd never existed. She wasn't suspended, she wasn't forgiven, she was deleted from her own creation. What makes Barr's erasure even more tragic is how completely it rewrote comedy history. Before she was canceled, Roseanne Barr wasn't just another sitcom star, she was the trailblazer for female comedians on television. She broke down barriers for working-class women, for female-led writers' rooms, and for women who didn't fit Hollywood's polished image. So Roseanne paved the way for shows like The Middle, Grace Under Fire, and One Day at a Time. Yet in the wake of her firing, her name has been systematically scrubbed from that legacy. Modern retrospectives about female comedy pioneers rarely mention her at all, as if her influence never existed. Barr didn't just lose her show, she lost her place in the very history she helped create. And what she actually said, and I don't remember the exact quote, but if you go look, Valerie Jarrett is a very light-skinned black woman, and Roseanne did not know that. And she tweeted that Valerie Jarrett, the way her haircut was, which was like a Karen-type haircut, looked like one of the characters from Planet of the Apes. So naturally, people on the left went racism, and that's why what happened. But you can go, I'm sure you can go look up the tweet right now, what Roseanne said anywhere else. But, like, in my opinion, it really was not as bad as it was made out to be, especially when she's been adamant ever since then that she had no idea Valerie Jarrett was black. And trust me, Valerie Jarrett does not really look black. So, number 2 is Gilbert Gottfried. It says, Gilbert Gottfried was the last of his kind, a comic who would say anything, anywhere, and didn't care who flinched. For years, that attitude made him a legend. But when the cultural wind shifted, he became a casualty. In 2011, after tweeting jokes about the Japan earthquake, Affleck fired him from his role as the company's mascot, a position he held for over a decade. Sponsors fled, venues canceled appearances, and the media treated him like a public villain. Even his old friend Howard Stern, once the poster boy for offensive comedy in My How He Has Fallen, abandoned him at the first sign of controversy. So Howard Stern has absolutely no loyalty to anybody, and this is now a long-established fact, it seems. So it says, Gottfried, who had stood shoulder to shoulder with Stern for years, suddenly found himself untouchable. He kept performing, but Hollywood had closed its doors for good. The same culture that defended Jimmy Kimmel's freedom of speech for mocking Christians and why did I say Asians? That word clearly says Americans. Middle Americans. I was going to say, first I was going to be like, what the hell is a Middle Asian? Anyway, my retardation aside, we're back. So we're going to start that sentence over. It says, the same culture that defended Jimmy Kimmel's freedom of speech for mocking Christians and Middle Americans refused to grant Gilbert the same right to joke. It says, when Gottfried passed away in 2022, tributes poured in from fans and comedians, including Stern, after years of keeping Gilbert off his show. So Howard Stern is a dick and didn't really need me to tell you that to know that. But the industry that once booked him everywhere had long since turned its back. His career ended in exile, not disgrace, and the same people who preach forgiveness never gave him any. Here's Justin Roiland. If you don't know who this is the creator of Rick and Morty. Okay, so it says, Justin Roiland's cancellation shows how innocent until proven guilty no longer applies in Hollywood. The co-creator and voice of Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites was accused in early 2023 of domestic violence and other heinous crimes. And he's the co-creator with Dan Harmon, who is the guy who created Community. And also, he was the voice of both Rick and Morty on Rick and Morty. So it says, the internet convicted him instantly. Adult Swim and Hulu cut ties before a single hearing took place. Then the truth came out. Prosecutors dismissed the charges. Roiland wasn't convicted of anything. But even after being cleared, no studio apologized, no network reinstated him, and no colleague came forward to defend him. He was erased from his own creations without a second thought. And if you ever watched Rick and Morty, and I did, until I got rid of cable, now I don't have a way to watch it. No, I don't do streaming services really, so I've just not going to do that. But the first 6 seasons, which he was a part of, are actually overall vary from maybe average, which is not that many episodes, to excellent, which is more than a bunch of episodes. Then season 7 came along, was first without him, and it was just kind of why did this show continue without him? He's quite literally the guiding light behind the entire series, and they're like, no, let's keep it going, and it's yeah, it's not the same. And I know there's a season 8, and I haven't watched it, and I don't plan on it. Says Jimmy Kimmel, by contrast, wasn't even facing criminal allegations when he was suspended. He was facing embarrassment, and Hollywood called it persecution. That's how deep the double standard goes. Roiland's exile also exposes a deeper cultural rot. The idea that public accusation now carries more weight than evidence. Hollywood didn't just distance itself, it seized the opportunity to claim moral purity while quietly keeping his shows alive, profiting from his creations without the inconvenience of his name attached. Yep, as I just said. It says Rick and Morty continues, Solar Opposites continues, and the corporations that built empires off his imagination never once acknowledged their rush to judgment. The message to every creator is clear. The art belongs to the studio, but the risk belongs to you. Roiland was found innocent, but in today's Hollywood, innocence doesn't matter. Reputation does, and once it's gone, the industry never gives it back. That's why he remains one of the dozens of canceled celebrities to never receive a Jimmy Kimmel moment. Then we get on to probably the most obvious one here, so I know these are probably not necessarily in any order, it's just 5 cancellations, not the top 5 or anything, but naturally Gina Carano. And when this happened, I remember having like an actual reaction to it, like, she did literally nothing wrong. If you don't know what happened, I hope this goes into it, otherwise I will tell you, and again, you're probably going to be like, if you don't know, you're going to be like, what? Like, what's the problem here? It's like an absolute nothing burger of the highest possible order. So it says, Gina Carano's firing from The Mandalorian was the moment millions of Americans realized how ideological Hollywood had become. She didn't break any law. She didn't attack anyone. She posted messages critical of political tribalism, warning that labeling neighbors as the enemy leads to dangerous consequences. And it wasn't just messages. It was one meme that it had, and says, I'm just very quickly scanning to see if it goes over it. It doesn't right there. So what it was, and maybe it will after her picture, I'm not going to worry about scrolling down and seeing it. If we go over it, we go over it. But it was just a meme. It was just a picture, really, that just had like Holocaust victims on one side and, you know, it says, and something on the other side. I don't remember what, but it basically just said like, this is what happens when you dehumanize, people that disagree with you, or something to that effect. It was very mundane. And when I saw she was canceled for that, and they were like, it offended Jewish people, I'm like, I'm Jewish, and I took absolutely zero offense to that, and basically I don't know anybody that has actually taken offense to the thing that she posted, to be honest with you. So it says, the post was misrepresented online. It absolutely was, and within hours, Lucasfilm declared her comments abhorrent and unacceptable. They did actually say that. Disney made sure everyone saw the announcement. Carano was fired, and her character, Cara Dune, was quietly written out of Star Wars. The same network that shielded Jimmy Kimmel for far worse rhetoric turned her into an industry outcast. But Carano refused to disappear. She joined the Daily Wire to make independent films, and in 2024 she filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against Disney with Elon Musk's legal team backing her. The filings accused Disney of selective enforcement, pointing out that Mark Ruffalo and Pedro Pascal have posted inflammatory political content with no consequence, and that is 100% true. They absolutely have done that, and posted actual, bigoted stuff out there, whereas Gina Carano's was just, can't we all get along? Because that legal battle ended up being a stunning reversal. After months of filings and with the threat of discovery looming, Disney quietly settled with Carano in August 2025. The terms weren't disclosed, but what turned heads was Disney's own public statement. In an extraordinary twist, the company that once called her posts abhorrent and unacceptable was forced to release language praising her professionalism and contribution to The Mandalorian. It was corporate speak, but the subtext was unmistakable. They lost, and they knew it. So for Carano, the settlement wasn't just about money. It was vindication for herself and canceled conservative celebrities everywhere. It proved that her firing wasn't based on any genuine misconduct, but on politics and image control. Hollywood didn't welcome her back. It was dragged to the table. Even in victory, she still stands outside the gates of the establishment, but she stands taller than the people who tried to silence her. Now, Carano's comeback is happening in spite of Hollywood, not because of it. She isn't asking for forgiveness. She's exposing their hypocrisy. And finally, Mr. James Woods. If you don't know who this is, well, you don't watch movies. All-time great actor. Seems like just a cool dude. And follow him on Twitter, too. He's a great follow as well. So it says, James Woods didn't lose his career over scandal. He lost it over principle. It says, for decades, Woods was one of Hollywood's most respected actors. An Oscar nominee, a leading man, and a constant presence in acclaimed films. But his outspoken conservative views made him persona non grata in an industry that prides itself on tolerance. And it says, when was this from? July 18th. It says, so this email from my agent, a political liberal today, it says, it's 4th of July and I'm feeling patriotic. I don't want to represent you anymore. I mean, I could go on a rant, but you know what I'd say. So that's bullshit, but let's keep going. It says, in 2018, his talent agent emailed him, as you can see. Above, it says, on Independence Day to say basically what I just read. Wood shared the message publicly, and it went viral. That one note symbolized everything wrong with Hollywood's selective morality. He hasn't appeared in a major production since. And when California wildfires threatened his Malibu home later that same year, social media lit up with mockery. People cheered at the possibility of his house burning down, calling it karma. No, that means just you're an asshole, people that were doing that. Thankfully, it survived, but the incident revealed the cruelty of the mob mentality that now defines modern entertainment. It says James Woods didn't attack anyone. He didn't lie like Jimmy Kimmel. He didn't incite violence. He was added to the list of canceled celebrities because he refused to parrot the industry line. That was enough to end his career. And I remember him, too, saying something like he produced Oppenheimer, the movie with Christopher Nolan, and when people were like, how come you weren't on, like, the red carpet? And he was just like, I don't want to distract from anything. And he's like, I think he even said that he asked to be taken off of the credits for the movie. And Christopher Nolan was like, no, man, you're part of this, so, like, you're staying on there. It was just because he didn't want to be a distraction. And he got his name's on the credits. You can go look. I think he's one of the executive producers, or just even a producer on it, or something like that. But anyway, so keeping on going on here, it says the double standard and the death of free speech. So it says Hollywood likes to claim it protects free speech, but what it really protects is approved speech. When Jimmy Kimmel spread misinformation in the wake of national tragedy, mocked conservatives, and even made racial jokes in the past in blackface, his network called it comedy. When other canceled celebrities like those listed above spoke out, made insensitive jokes, were accused without proof, or expressed unpopular opinions, they were destroyed. Scrolling down, it says Roseanne Barr, Gilbert Gottfried, Justin Roiland, Gina Carano, and James Woods weren't victims of cancel cultures. These canceled celebrities were victims of selective tolerance. Their speech wasn't dangerous, it was just unfashionable. Free speech means defending expression you don't agree with. It means jokes, mistakes, and opinions shouldn't end careers. Yet the Hollywood establishment, the very people who claim to stand for that principle, only seem to invoke it when it protects their own. In the end, that's what separates Jimmy Kimmel from the canceled celebrities on this list. He never fought for free speech. He just benefited from its selective enforcement. And that is correct. And I'm sure, like it says down here, which canceled celebrities do you think deserve a second chance? I'm sure there's a lot more, and not just celebrities that deserve a second chance, but a lot that have been canceled as well. So, yeah, there you go. So, again, just wanted to bring this up and give some other people here and kind of go into, like, why Jimmy Kimmel is kind of a little bitch. Yeah, it's kind of really it. So let me know if you think there's other celebrities that this article may have missed, or any others you want to talk about in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.